and typically gold front runs Bitcoin, but at the same time, we are seeing all-time highs for gold and for Bitcoin. And Wall Street is starting to dub this as a debasement trade. You've had JP Morgan talking about debasement vibes when it comes to the US dollar. You're seeing the US dollar that's been declining, and therefore you are seeing metals that have been rising.
You can feel it when you scroll through your feed. Everyone's chasing the next shiny thing again. Meme coins, AI tokens, some new Layer 3 project that promises to break physics. It's all noise. The same noise that made people miss Ethereum back when it was $40 and everyone said, it's too slow, it's too risky, it's already pumped. That same pattern is playing out again right now. Everyone's too distracted by the circus to see what's being built quietly in the background. That's where the real story is, the one nobody's hyping, but everyone powerful is watching. XLM, XDC, HBAR, XRP. The quiet giants. You can almost sense it, the world's about to tilt again. Every market cycle has that weird calm before something big snaps. The crowd always looks one way, and that's when the real builders, the real movers, make their moves in silence. You can call it boring, but boring is where the wealth hides. Look at what these networks are doing, not what people are tweeting about them. XLM isn't out here chasing headlines. It's wiring the world's payment rails, literally connecting banks in places where people still carry cash in plastic bags. XRP isn't dead. It's deep in the plumbing, moving quietly through test nets and pilot corridors. XDC is sitting right between trade finance and blockchain, the one bridge nobody talks about but everyone needs. And HBAR, man, HBAR is on another level, operating in the shadows of enterprise and government-grade systems. People don't see it because they don't look where money actually moves. They look at price charts, not adoption curves. They measure hype, not utility. But think back, in every financial revolution, the noise always came first. In the dot-com era, everyone was talking about Yahoo and AOL, while Google and Amazon were still considered boring back-end projects. In crypto, Bitcoin had the headlines, but Ethereum had the code. And now, while everyone's busy chasing the next memecoin season or AI narrative, the infrastructure coins, the real backbones, are laying down the new digital financial grid. That's what this is. Infrastructure. Pipes, rails, settlements, bridges. The systems that everything else will depend on once the hype fades. But nobody wants to talk about that because it's not sexy. It doesn't make you viral on TikTok to say, I'm holding a network that's improving cross-border settlement efficiency. People want a dopamine hit. They want a 10x overnight, not a 20x that happens quietly while they're looking away. But here's the twist, that quiet 20x, the one built on utility and not hype, is the one that stays. It's the one that changes your life, not just your month. You look at the charts today and it's easy to think, nothing's happening. But zoom out, really zoom out, and you'll see the slow heartbeat of adoption. Banks, fintechs, governments, all running pilots, all testing integrations. ISO 20022 wasn't some random update. It was the foundation for what comes next. These coins, XLM, XDC, HBAR, XRP, are the ones that actually speak that language. Everyone else is still learning the alphabet. And I get it. It's not easy to stay patient in a space that rewards attention spans shorter than a tweet. But this is where wealth is built quietly. You can almost feel that undercurrent, those tiny signals that most people ignore. A partnership here, a trade finance pilot there, a central bank using a private testnet. It's like watching the early internet, where cables were being laid underground while everyone laughed at dial-up. The ones who saw the cables, not the noise, were the ones who made it out rich. Now it's happening again. And it's not just about price anymore, it's about power. Financial power. The power to move value instantly, without friction across borders. The systems that governments and institutions will rely on when the current one breaks down under its own weight. Every crash, every liquidity crisis, every government shutdown exposes how broken the system really is. And when it finally buckles, it won't be the hype tokens people run to, it'll be the ones already embedded into the infrastructure. The ones that don't need a marketing campaign because they already have real-world clearance. That's the part people miss. The world doesn't change when Twitter says it does. It changes when the quiet builders flip the switch. And when that moment hits, when those silent corridors finally go live, people will look back and say, how did we not see this coming? But it's always been in front of them. It's just that they were too distracted to notice, too busy chasing noise to see the signal. So here we are again, another turning point. You can ignore it, laugh at it, or chase the next pump. But deep down, you know something's shifting. You can feel it in the way markets move, in how central banks talk about instant settlements without naming names, in how these networks, XLM, XDC, HBAR, XRP, keep showing up in the footnotes of reports you never hear about. The real game is never announced. It's revealed slowly, right before it explodes. And when it does, the ones who weren't distracted, the ones who paid attention to the boring stuff, they're the ones who walk away holding the future. It's crazy when you realize how the biggest changes never come with an announcement. Nobody rang a bell when the internet replaced the fax machine. Nobody made a headline when cloud computing quietly took over data centers. And now, the same thing is happening again. Not in front of you, but behind the scenes, inside the systems that move money. That's where the quiet war is happening. And while people argue over which meme coin has the best community, these networks, XLM, XDC, HBAR, XRP, are wiring the next global framework together piece by piece. The funny part is how people still think this space is all speculation. They still treat crypto like it's Vegas with better graphics. But the truth is, the world's biggest banks and payment providers are not gambling. They're testing, integrating, adapting. It's slow, it's quiet, and it's intentional. Look at XLM. Everyone calls it the people's coin. But they don't realize how deep its rails go. It's already moving real money in corridors that most folks couldn't even find on a map. It's what small banks and remittance companies lean on to move funds cheaper than Swift can even quote a rate for. It's not hype, it's plumbing. Then you've got XDC, sitting right in the middle of trade finance, the least sexy but most powerful part of global commerce. Most people don't even know what trade finance is, but it's the backbone of how goods move across the world. You can't move oil, machinery, or food without that network of trust and credit lines, and XDC is building a digital version of it. It's like someone rebuilding the bloodstream of the global economy while everyone else argues about cartoon dog tokens. That's how invisible real progress can be when everyone's chasing attention. And then there's HBAR, the silent giant. Hedera isn't trying to go viral. It's sitting in conference rooms with enterprises and governments, setting up frameworks that don't need your approval. It's already being used by companies you interact with daily, in supply chains, in authentication systems, in digital credentials. It's what's powering a future where value moves like data, fast, verified, final. But because it doesn't shout, people assume nothing's happening. It's like a whisper in a room full of people screaming about the next big airdrop. And XRP, it's always been misunderstood. It was never built to entertain. It was built to solve liquidity. The irony is that while the internet made information borderless, money stayed trapped behind walls. XRP was designed to tear those walls down. People mock it because they don't understand how deep its roots go, how many banks, payment corridors, and cross-border channels already use it behind the curtain. The court drama distracted everyone, but the work never stopped. The pipes kept being laid. The infrastructure kept evolving. The craziest part? Most people won't even notice when the switch flips. They'll wake up one day and realize their bank transfers settle instantly. Their remittance arrives in seconds. Their digital IDs connect to payment rails automatically. And they'll think, wow, that's neat. They won't realize they're watching the systems we've been talking about, the same ones they ignored for years because it wasn't trending on Twitter. It's always like this. The crowd gets caught up in the surface noise while the real builders dig deeper. They mock what they don't understand until it becomes too obvious to deny. You can trace it back to every major innovation: electricity, the internet, mobile phones. People laughed at it, dismissed it, until suddenly it became their entire world. Crypto's no different. We're at that same phase again, where the surface is chaotic and the foundation is quietly solidifying underneath. The irony is brutal. The ones calling crypto dead right now are unknowingly surrounded by it. Their banks are testing blockchain rails. Their governments are experimenting with digital currencies. Their favorite apps are quietly integrating distributed ledgers for verification. It's already happening, just without the fanfare. That's why these projects, XLM, XDC, HBAR, XRP, feel invisible. Because they're not designed to entertain, they're designed to endure. Every now and then, I think about how history repeats in cycles. The loudest voices always drown out the truth until it's too late to catch up. That's what's happening now. The next wave of digital infrastructure is forming, and people are too busy refreshing charts to notice. They're chasing 24-hour pumps while the 20x plays out over quarters and years. It's like they're sprinting while the real money's moving in a marathon. But one day, maybe soon, they'll realize the noise was the distraction, not the opportunity. It's wild how everyone thinks they're early, but still manages to miss the real thing. They think being early means buying something before the next tweet pumps it. They don't realize being early means sitting through silence, when nobody's paying attention, when the news cycle ignores you, when the prices feel frozen and every influencer moves on to the next shiny coin. That's where the real positions are built. That's where conviction lives. Right now, the entire market feels like it's trapped in a loop, everyone chasing dopamine. Charts, memes, hopium, exit pumps, rinse and repeat. And that's fine if all you want is noise. But the smart ones are starting to notice something weird. While everyone's arguing over short-term moves, the global architecture of money is being rewritten. And it's being done by the projects nobody talks about anymore. XLM, XDC, HBAR, XRP. You can almost feel the shift. Every major financial institution, every payment provider, every supply chain platform, they're all quietly connecting to some kind of distributed ledger. They're not asking whether blockchain works. They're asking which one is reliable enough to scale. And that's where these four names come up over and over again. Because unlike most crypto projects, they actually do something beyond speculation. Take HBAR. It doesn't care about hype. It's not built for Twitter. It's built for systems. Real systems, government databases, corporate networks, supply chain verification. You've got global brands experimenting with it not because it's flashy, but because it's stable. They want speed, cost efficiency, and finality, not memes. And the thing about Hedera is that it's boring to the average investor until it's too late. Just like cloud computing was boring until every company depended on it. And XLM? Everyone loves to underestimate it because it's too quiet. But it's literally solving one of the most human problems in finance: sending money home. People in developing regions are using Stellar-based rails without even realizing it's blockchain. That's how you know it's real. When technology disappears into the background, it's no longer a trend, it's infrastructure. And that's exactly what's happening with Stellar. It's embedding itself into the plumbing of the financial world, country by country, partnership by partnership. Meanwhile, XDC is moving into spaces most people don't even have the patience to understand: trade finance, tokenized documents, supply chain credit. It's not flashy, but it's massive. It's the part of the global economy that's too complex for the average investor to even think about. But that's the beauty of it. By the time people realize how much value flows through trade finance, XDC will already be sitting at the heart of it. It's not about hype cycles. It's about replacing systems that have been broken for decades. And XRP, well, say what you want, but that asset has been battle-tested. It's been dragged through mud, lawsuits, and skepticism, and it's still standing. The thing people don't realize is that every time XRP survives another hit, it proves something no other token has: institutional resilience. Most coins wouldn't last a month under that pressure. XRP took the punches, adapted, and kept building. The infrastructure is there. It's just waiting for the world to admit it. But the real problem isn't that people don't see the potential. It's that they're too distracted to care. The constant chase for the next 100x blinds them from the 20x that's sitting right under their nose. They want fireworks, not foundations. They want excitement, not stability. But history doesn't reward the loudest. It rewards the most patient. There's something poetic about how this market works. The same crowd that mocks boomer coins like XRP and XLM are the same ones who'll FOMO in when CNBC finally starts calling them institutional-grade networks. The same people ignoring XDC because it's boring will lose their minds when they realize it's the backbone of tokenized global trade. And the same ones who think HBAR is corporate will be using it daily without even realizing it, because the apps they rely on will be powered by it. That's what this phase of the market is, a test. Not of knowledge, but of patience. Can you hold conviction while the world is distracted? Can you see through the noise, the sideways price action, the social media drama? Can you focus on what's actually being built rather than what's trending? That's the difference between the ones who retire from this space and the ones who leave bitter. People forget, this isn't about luck anymore. This is about understanding the rhythm of innovation. The crowd always arrives late. The builders always win first. Right now, while everyone's looking left, at the hype coins, at the fake narratives, at the influencer predictions, the real players are quietly positioning themselves for a system-wide transition. That's how it's always been. So yeah, maybe they're too distracted. Maybe they can't see what's coming. But that's fine. Because every market cycle needs noise. Every revolution needs a crowd too busy arguing to notice the foundation shifting. And when the dust settles, when the rails are live, the networks are humming, and the next bull run is built on real-world utility, those who saw it early won't need to explain anything. They'll just smile, watching everyone else finally waking up to what's been obvious all along. The funny part is, the signs are right there in plain sight, flashing like warning lights on the dashboard, but everyone's too busy scrolling through memes or chasing the next pump to notice. You can literally feel the next phase loading, partnerships forming, old systems glitching, politicians talking about cross-border settlements without even realizing they're quoting white papers written 10 years ago. The shift isn't coming. It's already happening in the background. Quietly, patiently, relentlessly. You can see it in the cracks. Every time a bank halts wires for maintenance, every time Swift delays a transfer, every time a global fund complains about outdated rails, that's the system screaming for replacement. And while the world debates which meme coin will moon next, real-world utility is taking shape under the radar. XLM connecting unbanked regions, XDC sliding into global trade, HBAR anchoring enterprise networks, XRP threading liquidity between them all. That's not theory anymore. That's infrastructure being born. But people don't see it because it's not loud. It doesn't have the dopamine hit of a 200% candle or a celebrity endorsement. It's quiet work, integrations, compliance meetings, software updates, pilot programs. The kind of stuff that makes no headlines until suddenly it's everywhere. Remember how no one cared about cloud computing until one day every business on Earth depended on it? That's the curve we're on. The adoption arc you can't time, but you can feel if you pay attention. And this is where it gets personal. Because the next crash, the next global reset, whatever form it takes, that's the real filter. It's going to show who actually believed in the tech and who was just renting hype. When the screen turns red and everyone runs for exits, that's when conviction turns into wealth. Not because you predicted the crash, but because you understood what would still matter after it. Payment networks, settlement layers, distributed trust. That's where these 4 projects live. That's why they'll outlast the noise. Imagine that moment a few years from now, the headlines finally catch up, regulators finally give the nod, and suddenly every exchange is flooded with people trying to buy what you've been holding since everyone else was distracted. The same ones who mocked you for staying in quiet networks will be the ones asking how you saw it coming. You won't need to answer. You'll just remember this moment. When prices were low, news was boring, and belief was the only thing separating you from the crowd. So yeah, they're distracted. They always are before the breakthrough. And maybe that's how it's supposed to be. The market rewards those who can focus when everyone else is busy looking elsewhere. You don't need to shout about it. You don't need to convince anyone. Just keep stacking, keep learning, keep paying attention to the quiet stuff. Because the quiet stuff is where the real wealth grows. And if you're watching this right now, you're already ahead of most. You're not here for noise. You're here for understanding. So tell me in the comments, which of these do you think breaks out first when the dust settles? XLM, XDC, HBAR, or XRP? I read every comment, and I want to see where the real conviction is. Hit the like button if you're still holding through the noise. Share this with someone who needs a reminder that patience is a strategy, not a weakness. And if you're new here, subscribe, because when the shift finally hits the surface, we'll be the ones who saw it forming before anyone else did. The world is about to learn what real utility looks like. Don't blink now, the 20x opportunity is already walking past most people while they argue about the wrong things.